Oh. Sahana vavatu, sahano bhunaktu, saha vedyam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. Hari Om. The symbol Om. Om, page number 248. Om is acclaimed as the most powerful word symbol of Brahman, the supreme reality, God. It is known as Pranava. Pranava means that which pervades life. Om is used in meditation by spiritual seekers. Brahman is the ultimate goal a human being can aspire to reach. One cannot reach it directly through the body, mind, or intellect. Brahman is beyond something that your sense organs can perceive, nor is it an emotion your mind can feel, nor a thought your intellect can conceive. It remains unknown. Most people need a known idol to reach an unknown ideal. Some need a gross idol with a form, a stone, metal, or any solid substance. Others can do with a subtler form like fire. Thus, fire has been a common idol of worship in many religions. The subtlest idol is sound. It is considered subtlest since only one of the five sense organs, ear, can contact it. And of all sounds, Om is acclaimed the most natural, most potent. There are reasons for the choice. Now, first thing we need to understand here is the ideal is unknown. I'm not sure about my pronunciation. Ideal and idol. Ideal is the goal. IDEAL. Ideal. And the idol, IDOL, is representing that. Because we cannot have a direct access to the ideal, we use the idol to represent it. Exactly like you keep your departed mother or father's picture in the house. So every time every time you have some occasion, you do prostration to the picture, to the photograph hanging in the wall, and you call that is my mother, that is my father. Is that paper your father? Is the glass your father? The wooden frame, is that your father? Because all that I see is only that. I see only a paper. I see only a glass. I see only a wooden frame. That's all I see. And I come out and say, oh, your father is made up of paper plus glass plus wood. You will take a stone and throw it at me. Because to you, that is Father. Anything I do to that, the respect I give to that is as good as giving respect to your Father. The disrespect I give to that is as good as disrespecting your Father. Right now, there is no way that you can access your father or mother or grandfather or grandmother, whoever. You don't have access to them. When you are not having access to them, you keep that picture as a representation of them. Then I ask the question, which picture is the right picture to represent your father? His wedding or your first birthday on his 60th birthday? Because you would have taken pictures of him at various stages, right? Which picture is a right representation of your father? So ideally, I tell people, they ask, I wanted to keep my father's picture, mother's picture. I tell them, keep that picture when they were, 40s. They were young, Don't keep a picture when they are so old, One look at them itself, you think, they are perennially old. At least have a picture, at least if you're not having that picture, put a die in the picture at least. Tell your, fellow Coral Draw, Adobe Photoshop, he will do some gimmicks and make them look younger. Let them look little young, at least in the picture. Get a good one. Don't keep a old picture. Many houses I see that. They keep this is my father, this is my mother. I say, have you seen Rama's picture? Have you seen Krishna's picture? Have you ever seen Rama, Krishna old? The only God who is old is Brahma. That's why we don't have any temple for him. We don't like old man. Old fellows, we don't like. Now you keep a picture. Which picture is the right representation of your father? That is where it is up to you to decide. Similarly, we don't have access to God. You cannot see God. You cannot have a handshake with God. But there are people who claim, I had breakfast with God also. And he is the one who released my CD, also they say. My CD is released by him. He saw the first, copy. And then he said, it's good. Now you can publish it. All weird, not possible. There is no way that you can see God, hear God, smell God, taste God, touch God. Not possible. Is it possible to conceive God through your mind, through emotion? Not possible. Can you understand God intellectually? Not possible. So, God is not accessible, available for contact through the three equipments that we have: body, mind, intellect. These are the three equipments that we have got as human. Now we don't have an option to contact him or her or it. Whatever way you want to use it, you use it. If you say him, you say him. If you feel her, you say her. If you say it, you can say it. So when you want to contact Brahman, God, you need something to anchor your attention. Otherwise, you cannot focus. Exactly like you keep that photograph of your father to anchor yourself on the thought of your father. Same way, you want to think of God. Your father, where is your father? He is nowhere. Or you can say he is everywhere. It depends on your mood. If you are in good mood, you will say father is everywhere. If you are in bad mood, you will say he is nowhere. Depends on your mood only, isn't it? Same thing here. You say when we say God is everywhere, but he is not accessible. So as far as we are concerned, we don't know where is God. Somebody told us God is everywhere. But according to you and me, God is not everywhere. At least according to me, God is not everywhere. I don't know. Someone told, right? And I believe that person. I can say, yes, I believe what he says. There's no reason for me to suspect that he might be lying to me. But is it my knowledge? No, that's not my knowledge. That's only my trust on that person. That's about it. That's not knowledge for me. Therefore, what we need something to connect. Now, with an unknown for you to connect, what is needed? An unknown cannot be. So the ideal is unknown. Therefore, what we do, we take a known idol to represent the unknown ideal. Knowing fully well that idol is not the ideal. Knowing fully well that sun never rises nor sets. Every day you read in the newspaper, morning 6:02 is the sunrise. I don't think any one of you will call the editor and tell him, you are an educated fellow. Didn't you study in school that sun never rises, never sets? If you call, the editor will say what? You have called the wrong number, will say. And he will give you Nimhan's number. Call them. We know that. You know the photo is not your father. Do you think that is your father? No. But you take that picture as good as your father, knowing fully well that picture is not father. Similarly, when you are seeing the idol, that idol is not the ideal. But you cannot contact the ideal, you cannot relate with the ideal, you cannot hold on to that ideal as it is. Therefore, you take an idol. Now, if you have to take an idol, you have to take it only from what is known to you. What is known to you is what? What is known is only the world. You don't know anything other than the world. Therefore, what we do, sir, see the picture. This side is Brahman, Om, represented by that blue circle. Even though you cannot define it with a particular circle, you just wanted to have some representation, therefore I put a circle there. The division is there. One side is Brahman, other side is world. One side is God, other side is world. And the world is made up of what? 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. These are the 5 elements. And to contact those 5 elements, we have got 5 senses. Ear to contact space, skin to contact air, eye to contact fire, tongue contact water, and through this contact, you get a stimuli. How do you contact? Through sound, you contact space. Through skin, you feel the air. Also, you can contact the sound. If you see the drum and all that, if you touch, you can feel the vibration. Like the string instruments, you touch that string, you can feel that. You can experience through this. Then through eye, you see, the first element that you see is fire. And through tongue, you add taste also, which means there is sound, there is feeling, there is seeing, also there is tasting. Earth through nose. In earth, what is there, sir? You get that smell. Earth has what? Earth has all that together. Sound is there, feel is there, seeing is there, taste is there, and also smell. All this we have studied in human composition. Right? Now we can't be doing. Now the focus is not on these things. Now the focus is of these 5, the subtlest one is the space. Why? Because the space is the closest point to Brahman. The next closest is air. Next is fire, water, earth. So in the order of subtle to gross, space, air, fire, water, earth. So the space is the subtlest. Now, of all the idol, if you have to take, you have to take idol only from what is known. What is known to us is the world. The world which is made up of these 5 elements. The 5 elements only we know. We don't know anything other than that. We understand only the 5 elements. In that 5 elements, the subtlest one is space. And then he says, the grossest one is what? If sound, space is the subtlest, earth is the grossest. Then there is fire. These are the 3 most used elements as idol. The other 2 are not used by many. Many have used fire. That's what he is saying here. He says the fire has been a common idol worship. Why? Because fire is the first element which is visible to perception. We can see fire. And then you can see water. You can see earth. All 3 can be seen. But the first 2 cannot be seen. Right? Air, you can't see. Space, you can't see. You must say, sir, I'm seeing. You're seeing emptiness. That's all. That's not space. See. So which is the visible one for the first one is fire. The fire is the first visible element. Therefore, many have used fire to represent. Now, also, as I said, the idol should have some resemblance. You see, if there's no resemblance, because it should trigger a memory in you, isn't it? When you are taking a picture of your father, it should trigger a memory of your father, isn't it? Which memory you want to get triggered? Based on that, you will keep the picture. Right? If I started conceiving, accepting him as father only when I have become a grandfather, then you will have a picture of your father as what? 85. Only 85-year-old picture only you will keep. When you accepted him as a father, which memory you wanted to trigger, based on that you will keep the same way. These elements should trigger something. And which is the best one in that? Many found fire has a fantastic trigger points. Why? Because human mind has a tendency, it has a capacity to go outwards or to go inwards. Your mind can be extroverted in nature or introverted in nature. When it looks within, introverted nature. When it looks outside, it is extroverted. The introverted mind when it moves within, the consequence is different. The impact on the mind itself. When the mind looks within, the impact on the mind is different. When the mind looks outward, the impact is very different. When the mind looks within, it starts elevating itself. It starts generating, it starts experiencing or feeling nobler emotions, higher thoughts. So, the introverted mind, when the mind looks within itself, it starts moving as it were upwards. All higher things. When it looks outward, it's becoming more and more gross. It starts entertaining or all gross, mean, low emotions, thoughts. Therefore, they took fire to represent better. Why? Fire has a unique property. What is the property of fire? You can keep fire anywhere. It will shoot always upwards only. No sample of fire will go downwards. Now, the ideal God search has to happen within. If I have to search God within, I have to turn my extroverted mind introverted. When that introverted mind turns, what is experienced is it starts entertaining on higher emotions, higher thoughts. Representation of that phenomena is outside. which is fire. Therefore, many took fire as a sample. And there are very many reasons, remember, to take fire. One of the main reason is fire is the first element visible. That's a basic point. Then comes all other ideas. Then there are so many reasons are there for people to take fire as a representation. Those who cannot take this subtle, they needed a particular form, because fire doesn't have a form of its own. You can see it, but you can't structure it and say this is how it will be always. It takes very many shapes, but there are people who cannot connect to that. They needed something which is more structured. Those people went to create the idols, started using very many pictures or sculptures, paintings. They started painting. They started making sculptures. They started sculpting things and said, this is how he is. Rama will be like this. Krishna like this. It is just a painting. It's just a picturization. Imagine, constantly someone having a peacock feather. It looks funny. You mean to say he will never change? No. This is how he is. How he is visualized. Or some of them took the stones and started making a sculpture out of it. Some of them said, you don't need any of those things. Just the stone is sufficient. Like our family deity. You go. They just have 3 stones there. That's all. And say, this is God, this is Goddess. That's it. Now you do whatever you want. Just, 3 stones are there. Full stop. And then you do all those things into the stone. Like they said, Saligrama and all that. They took a stone. Even Shivalinga is also there. It's just a stone in that particular shape. That's it. What is a form? There's no specific form and all that. But you go to Guruvayur, you have God in a particular form. You see, Udupi you go is in a different form. The same God you come and see in Srirangam, you go and see, he looks very different. Srirangapatna, you go and see, he looks very different. Trivandrum, you go and see Padmanabha, he looks very, very different. But more or less what? It's all same only. All 3 will be lying down. Who is that, sir? Vishnu only, they will say. All 3 are Vishnu. But there is a difference. There is a slight difference is there. Subtle difference they bring about. This is why it's to their visualization. Few people took that. Few people said, just fire is sufficient for us. So they started worshipping fire. There are people who said, even that is not required. Just a sound is sufficient. Just a sound. Some people took the element earth. Some people took the element fire. Some people took the element space. In space, what is sound? That's all is there. So, all three were taking. All three are idols only, remember. But the difference is because of their preferences or because of their subtlety. The most evolved, subtle personality, just a sound is sufficient. In fact, there are people who go one step further. They say silence is even better. But then don't try all that. Okay. This is what we have been telling. People try all these things. You cannot. You must have the capacity to stay with that. Stay with one. This is how our culture is that. Our culture is to stay with one. That's why in the wedding they say, for 7 Janmas let us be together. Stay with one person, not for few months, this one life and all that. 7 Janmas we will be together because we use same thing. We just have to have the same. Everything in our culture is same, one. Whole day you are running after variety. And suddenly in this half an hour, this 15 minutes, you say that I'm going to be staying with one. Don't try. Don't try to fool yourself. This is what people do in the name of meditation. Meditation is the art of single-pointedness. Single-pointed focus means you should have the capacity to stay with one. You are not able to stay with one restaurant. Listen to one, go and have breakfast in the same restaurant. Forget about restaurant. People don't go to same temple. Ask them, I'm going to the temple. Why don't you come? He says, I've been there to the temple. There. I was going to the temple. I went to this fellow's house. From this house, I'm going to the temple. So I told him, hey, I'm going to the temple. Would you like to join? Because they have ration law now. They don't allow this many numbers and all those things now. So we have to inform them how many are going to come. So I told him, yes, I have seen. So now tomorrow if I say I'm going to the other temple, he says, yeah, I'm coming. Why? I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing. We don't have the capacity to experience this. In silence, there is no variety at all. In sound, it is much less. See, then comes grosser and grosser and grosser. In forms, you have very many, so many forms. Like you see Ganesha. Someone was, having the fascination for collection. Ganesha's, idols. Small idols he's been collecting. There's over 3,000 and odd idols he has collected and kept in his house. Unbelievable. So many. All of them were so. Ganesha only. All are Ganesha. Why can't you just have one Ganesha and stay put? That is not possible. Of all that, grosser the elements you come, number increases. Variety. How many dishes we prepare? Every 50 kilometers you travel in India, different cuisine. They prepare very different. Something and all they say. Mundri kottu. There is one dish called Mundri kottu from Tirunelveli. So different it is. Taste is so different. This is so different. You go grosser and grosser. Taste keeps on, variations. Now, whole life we live with Variety. Mind has this weakness, remember. Mind always goes for variety. It wants different things. We cannot go. Even God also, we want variety. That is why in our tradition, we have a family. Family deity means what? For generations, people have been worshipping. You see, same God is great grandfather, father. You go backwards, how can you people be worshipping? Same thing, man. Don't you get bored? For us, same is equal to boredom. That's called grossness. For subtle fellows, same is equal to ecstasy. Now, same idol. You take one idol. You can take any one of that. It doesn't matter. You see, you don't have to start with the subtlest. Right? You start from the gross. Then slowly subtleize yourself. Then come to the subtle. Sound is the subtlest form, subtlest idol. Of the sound, right? Vak Prabanja, we call it as. There are two types of world. One is Sthula Prabanja, another one is known as Vak Prabanja. Sthula Prabanja is the object, the element, water. But the Vak Prabanja for that is what? Very many names we give in different languages. One person calls it Pani, another person calls it water, another person calls it Tanni. Now each one calls it different. Even in one language itself, they call it different. Neer, they say, Tanni, they say, Tirtham, they say. Now each one calls it different, but the element is same. The sound is different. Now what he's saying is, of all sounds, so entire Vak Prabanja you take, of all sounds, Om is the subtlest. So first, he establishes Brahman you cannot contact. Therefore, you need a representation. That's the idol. The idol can be from any one of the five elements. Any one of the five it is. Of that, say grossest is the earth, subtlest is the sound. Form, sound. Then, of the sound, he says, Om is the subtlest. And then he is going to give reasons. On what basis we claim Om to be the subtlest form. And he gives various reasons for that. The first one says there are reasons for the choice. Why they chose this? Why they had to make a choice? What is so special about the sound Om? What is the reason? He says reason one. And he gives 4 reasons. There are 4 reasons he gives. The first reason is this. Sound can be classified under 2 categories. Inarticulate and articulate. Inarticulate sound, also known as intonational, deals with feeling, emotion of the mind, concerns the heart. Whereas the articulate sound, also known as alphabetical, can be recited in the letters of the alphabet. It deals with knowledge, understanding by the intellect, concerns with head. However, articulate sound has a limited application. It can be transacted only by those who have gone through a particular training, learned that language. Imagine a Persian meeting a Russian. One tries to communicate to the other in one's language. Neither of them understands the other. But when one laughs or cries, the other instantly knows he is happy or unhappy. Such communication is inarticulate intonation, a universal way by which even babies and animals can communicate. Music is another example of intonation. The sound of music has a positive effect on beings. It produces great results. The symbol Om has the distinction of being both articulate and inarticulate, alphabetical and intonation. It has a deep philosophical significance, while the chant of Om has an extraordinary effect on human beings. The two aspects together help individual attune with the being. So first reason he gives. The first reason is there is every sound is classified into two. One, articulate sound. Another one is inarticulate sound, which is referred as intonational. Intonational means when you chant, when you intone that sound, it produces a particular effect on the person who is intoning it. You see, the sound created has an impact on the feeling. Based on this principle alone, we have developed this concept of mantra. Mantra is not any sound. There is a particular sound. They have taken a sound and you intone it in a particular way. That particular swara, in that particular frequency, in a particular way, from that particular part of the body. So you have to study all this. Creating that sound has a particular effect on the person, also to some extent on others also. But more than others, it is to that person. Because many believe in this. They say, you chant, I hear, I will get elevation. Nothing will happen. A lot of them believe in that. They say. That's why, in some houses, they put on this chanting. There are some instruments we have. You switch it on, means it will start chanting. All day it will be chanting. And these people believe that sound will create that vibration in the house. And suddenly house will get purified, house will get sanctified, house will do, nothing will happen. You see, you have to create that sound the way it is supposed to be created. It's the same sound. Friend, try this. Not now. Okay. Try to sound that and you'll find in the morning you sound you feel very different. Around 10:30, 11:30 you try. Around 2:30, 3 you try. Around 6 you try. One day you can be awake. 11 o'clock you try in the night. The whole feeling will be different. Now, they say they take a particular sound and sound it. That is that intonation. You have to intone. You have to chant. Meaning you have to keep chanting that, making that sound again and again and again. When you keep repeating that sound again and again and again, it creates a particular feeling. And they found the sound Om, when you chant again and again and again, it creates a particular feeling in you, full stop. Don't start getting into all this. Suddenly it will create this effect, that effect on your brain, that frequency, alpha, beta, gamma, theta, and all that. See, nothing of those things are going to be of any help as far as we are concerned, because he has mentioned it very clearly here. Om is used in meditation by spiritual seekers. So, you are chanting Om is used by whom, sir? Only by spiritual seekers. If you say that I am not a spiritual seeker, but I am simply going to chant Om, nothing will happen to you. Don't expect something, some benefit will come. You will just get that emotional satisfaction that you have also doing something spiritual. Something is happening to you. It is more of a make-believe than a reality. Remember. But the sound has an effect. Same way that sound also. Just that sound, keep sounding it. Don't try all that. I'm just giving as an explanation. Because if you have to do this, means you have to do it for at least an hour or so. Now, for 1 hour, if you sit and say, you will think, you are going to do some sadhakam, like music training. He's only explaining the sound has two aspects to it. One, it creates a feeling in you. Every sound creates a feeling. Similarly, every feeling gets an expression of a sound. How they identify is this. Every feeling finds its expression through a particular sound. In a particular way. In a particular tone. Isn't it? I never said you stole this. I never said you stole this. There is a world of difference. Why? Just by the tone. Which word I stress. If I stress more, never said in that there, which means what? I didn't say it, but I have given all indications that you are the one who stole it. I never said you stole this one, but you stole something else. Where you stress has a meaning. That is what is meant by inarticulate sound. Then has this articulate sound. Articulate sound means every word has a defined meaning. That sound has a structure. What is the structure of a sound? A sentence. A sentence means what? Brennan Martin. First thing you will read in Brennan Martin is what? What is a sentence? Collection of words making sense. Otherwise, it is not a sentence. Now, when you make a sentence in a particular language, if I know that language, I can understand what you are saying. If I don't know that language, then I cannot. Therefore, every sound organized in a particular way becomes a word. Sound, word. Collection of word becomes a sentence. A sentence communicates ideas, knowledge. Right? Sound, word, thought. Right? Now, this is how the development happens. The sound, we organized it in a particular way. All of us have decided that in English, we call a particular thing as water. Who decided? Who decided an apple is to be called as apple? Who decided after A, it's B? After B, it is C? Who decided? Samuel Johnson didn't decide. Shakespeare didn't decide. Then who decided? No clue we have. Somebody decided. Somebody must have decided, no? Right? One group of individuals must have got together, or one individual must have said, this is what it is. And everybody agreed. He started calling that thing as water. Like a child is born, there's no name. Then suddenly we started calling the child with a particular name. After that, that name is just a sound. That sound has become the identity of the child. Isn't it? That's why on the road, anyone calls Ishwar, I turn around. Why? Because the sound has become my identity. I started associating with that sound. The sound becomes a thought. This is called articulate. Articulate sound. A sound with a definite meaning. But when you make that sound, I can decode and understand this is what you mean. Only if I have a training. If I'm not having a training, the meaning can be anything. Meaning can be suggestive, the meaning can be implied, the meaning can be direct, spelled out. It can be anything. It doesn't matter. You see, for example, democracy. Right? What is the meaning of the word democracy? Each one has their own understanding of democracy, isn't it? Democratic pattern. What is that, sir? Is it by majority? Majority means what? Majority means 51%. You mean to say all those governments got elected by 51% of voting? Then what is democracy? There will be a lot of difference between all of us. Now, I understand democracy in a particular way. You understand democracy in a particular way. But both of us will be using that same word, democracy. That is why this articulate sound, he says, has a limitation. See, and the best part is, all of us spend tremendous amount of our time and effort to rely on the articulate. The inarticulate part of the sound, we just ignore. We just dismiss. Tremendous effort has gone into it. All our education, all our training is for what? Articulate sound. That's all it is. We just articulate sound. Everything that we do is articulation only. And that's why the sound is a fascinating phenomenon. Words. know. In fact, a dumb man doesn't look like human for all of us. A blind man also looks like human to us. See, a dumb. That's why even a blind person can become a leader. Right? Can become a well-known, but not a dumb. Why? Because we have become so dependent. The whole social structure of us is based on what? On words. A man of words becomes a great personality for all of us. Who are all the great people? Greatness of a man is purely based on his ability to speak, isn't it? Words only. Or write, whatever it is. If he's a good writer, then he'll be a good speaker also. He has to speak. Only then he is. There are a lot of authors out there, but they are not known. But those who can speak, even in the organizations, you see, who comes up? Leadership. There is a group of people there who gets promoted to a manager, team manager. Who comes up, sir? The one who gets. And not to talk about political leadership and all that. Any form of leadership you take, they had to have this capacity to articulate. Articulation means what? Sound, words, thought. So go backwards. From thought, you have to go to words. From words, you go to sound. Same way, sound has another dimension to it. What is it? Sound generates a feeling. So from feeling, a sound is getting generated. So from sound, you trigger that feeling. Of that, he says, Om has a beautiful representation of both. What is it? It has an articulate meaning. Also, it has an inarticulate one. It is such a universal sound. And Ramtirtha proves it by saying how every sound is nothing but this sound only. A, U, This sound, Om. Om is just a union of these three sounds. A, U, These three put together is Om. So first thing he says, why we need an idol? Then what are the options? Options are two, with form, without form. Without form is pure sound. Right. Form means can be any form. Right. Starting from fire to earth. Can be anything. Right. It need not be to be having in the particular sculpture. Even without a sculpture, you just take a stone also, it becomes a idol only. Right. Then those who say, today we have this concept, idol worshippers and non-idol worshippers. Everybody is an idol worshipper only. Only difference is what? Which one you are going to take as an idol. That's all. There is a group who says, I'm not going to take stone. I'm going to take only sound. Another person says, no. No stone, no this. I'm going to take fire. That's your choice. Of the choices, he says sound is the subtlest. Of the sound, Om. Why? He says every sound has two dimensions to it. One articulate, another one is intonation. Intonation means a feeling that gets generated when you play. Every sound has a particular feeling getting generated. That's what they say when they sing ragas. For every raga, there is a associated feeling. It's so interesting to see. It's a hasyam. There's a raga for hasyam. There's a raga for anger. There is a raga for compassion. There's a raga for dejection, depression. You sing the raga, you will feel depressed. And there is a raga for sorrow. The raga you sing, you feel so sad. The problem for us is we should be able to register it. Our problem is you can't register. That is our incapacitation. It has got nothing to do with the raga. But they say when you sing every sound, meaning that particular combination of that sound, not just a sound. That's why we take all unit sounds. Of all the sounds, they said this combination sound, a, u, is the most best one. Why? The sound has an intone. When you intone it, it relaxes the body, it relaxes the mind, it relaxes the system to such an extent where you forget it. See, the registration, just that chanting, just that intoning this sound, Om, in any form. It need not be in its full-fledged form. In any form of, even a crude form of it is sufficient. Like you find a person who's in high temperature. When they have this temperature, the body is aching. Temperature. You see them saying, go on. What is it now? Just that sound. That sound has an effect. That whatever the sound combination is. This combination in any form, if not to its fullest, best in tone value. 1. 2, it has articulation also. This articulation part is what he is going to be explaining now. Inarticulate, part of it cannot be explained. Why? Because it is connected to feeling. So the feeling part of it cannot be expounded or explained. Feeling part of it needs to be felt by the person. Felt by whom? It can be felt only by the person who is intoning it. Now, we can't say, you intone, I will feel. Now, those things won't work. You see, it doesn't work. It works, but it works in a very, very minuscule, percentage only. It has some impact, but that impact is also so temporary. Before you register it, it will be gone. You'll never get you'll just get a glimpse of it. That's it. When you hear people, singing, chanting this Om. So first, he says, sound has 2 aspects. 1, articulate. Another one is inarticulate. Now he will be explaining what is the articulate aspect, the philosophical implications of A, U, M. But mark me, this is not the meaning. Like, the photograph is not your father. It's not a meaning. Photograph represents. Similarly, A, U, M represents something. And you get the best representation. Like, of all the pictures that you will see at home, whatever you have in your system, you ask your friend, you ask your brother, you ask your sister, you scan through all the pictures, and then you decide to take that particular picture and send it to a person to make a portrait of his. Isn't it? Similarly, They had scanned through very many things. Of that, they have taken Om. Now he is giving two more reasons. And then finally he goes through the idea Om is a universal one. Don't say it is used by the particular, it is universal. So no one can claim it to be theirs. So this is the flow of ideas. Right. More we'll see in the next class. Right. Thank you.